Rad, you happy to get started?
Sure, let's do it.
Feels awkward with these mics in front of you a bit. Yeah, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
For those who don't know, who are you and what do you kind of do, I guess, or what have you done in the past?
I'm Zoli Borbasi. In my regular day job, I'm a pool builder. But a long time ago, I started Volatile Visions, which was filming mountain bike and BMX from the early days. It started about 94. I just celebrated a 30-year anniversary. Even though I haven't been doing it that whole time, I've got a spark back to kind of revisit it and look at it again.
Might just get you to put your mic just a bit
closer.
Get
in there.
That's all good. 30 years, like for most of my listeners, they might not have. Well, I was 6, like when you started filming and stuff. But can you give us a brief description of what it was like starting mountain biking and filming and everything back then? Because that was the start of it in Adelaide, right?
It pretty much. Look, I was actually an outsider. Like
Okay.
I wasn't part of the mountain bike community. I played soccer all my life, and finished that, and had bought myself a video camera to go on holidays with the missus. And I was looking I'd stopped playing soccer. I was looking for a sport to do. I did windsurfing for a bit, and I used to get carpal tunnel, like my hands would lock up, so I couldn't keep doing that. And then I got into bought a mountain bike, and that was when they first had suspension forks. So there wasn't just a road bike; it was a mountain bike, and it had suspension forks. And I think it was like a GT or something, and I think the forks were like $1,000 for like some elastomer forks or something like that. I saved up my money and bought that, but that was very early days. And then just happened along to heard about this downhill race. There were some cross-country races at the start. Adelaide Mountain Bike Club had organised cross-country.
True.
That was what they had, and maybe a couple of trials events. And then they had a downhill at Valli Hoel. And I went out there, and that was my first meeting of it. Like that was my first time that I saw, Gary Patterson was there. Later I realised that was Gary, and that was Matt Holmes. They had this bus there. Dave Mott, they'd set it up. But yeah, I was new to the sport. I wasn't a mountain biker. I just happened to have a camera and started filming stuff, and it kind of went from there.
What was it? Do you remember what your camera you were filming on? Like obviously you were...
It was a mini VHS camera, Panasonic, like mini VHS. So you'd have this little tape, and you'd put that tape into a VHS tape. And that would play the video. So yeah, like a mini VHS tape, and then that moved on to a high 8 tape, and then a digital tape, and then digital.
Were you just forgive my ignorance, but were you carrying multiple tapes around with you to film on, or?
Yes. So sorry, my dog is here just paying attention to the stuff as well. So you just buy like the tape. You might get maybe a 30-minute tape or a 45-minute tape. And that would, but you record seconds at a time. Like at first you record too much. You record 3 minutes and you think everything you're filming is great, and then you look back at it and you go, 2 minutes and 58 seconds but crap, and there was 2 seconds of good stuff in there. She's not chewing those. Kaya?
She is. It's all good.
Get on your bed.
That's me old trucker. That's all good. She can chew on that all she wants.
My dog's just chewing on cords here. Little tapes, and you'd take a tape, and you just one would generally be enough. It was the batteries that was the problem.
True.
Batteries was the hard thing to make last. But yeah, you just lug this camera, and no one else really. I think Holmes had a video camera back then. And there's a few people taking photos. But it was for riders, so all the guys involved in the sport were riders. Like that's how come maybe I was able to step away from it, because I wasn't a rider. Because if you're riding, all you want to do is ride. You don't want to stop and take photos. You don't want to stop and take a video of what you're doing. You just want to keep riding.
Exactly.
And so maybe because I came from outside of it, I was able to step away from riding and stop myself riding and actually film stuff.
That's unreal.
You know?
Yeah. It's like, to go back to what you were saying though, but like you have Gary Patterson, you got Matt Holmes, like Marshy, like these guys all set the foundation for, and yourself, I guess, as well.
Well,
Definitely.
even Marshy can't look, and look, I can't claim any responsibility to it. You know, I was a passenger, and even you know, Marshy, we came a bit later. There was Darren Moore. Like to me, I think it was Gary Patterson heavily involved, and Darren. I think there was another race in Adelaide before then, or the year before, 93. A group of guys had gone to Bulla, to do a mountain bike event, from South Australia, but to race again at Thredbo, I think the way the story goes was that we wanted to form an actual downhill mountain bike club. So I think, and even in the stuff I've been posting out, some of the feedback is I think South Australia is maybe the first mountain bike downhill club, maybe even in the world.
It'd be out there for sure.
There's mountain bike clubs, and they were for cross country and for mountain bike, but that was specifically a downhill mountain bike club. And look, those guys would know the story behind it. But yeah, there was a heap of it was mostly couriers. They were mountain bike couriers. Yeah. So it was the courier crew.
Yeah.
You know, there's Adam Ross and Sadler and there's a heap of different guys.
Yeah.
God, I don't know if it should be up there. All right, try again.
Oh, we tried. It's all good. Yeah, you were saying like the first downhill club in the country, Australia.
Yeah, look, I rocked up to this event at Marble Hill on a Saturday, I think it was. They had this bus. It was literally, I don't know, 4 or 5 turns. You know, it was a 50-metre straight with a right-hand turn, then a hairpin, then a hook left, and then down a little chute and over a jump that was knee-high.
Yeah.
That was my introduction to it, and I'd never jumped. I started riding at about 21, so I wasn't into bikes. I wasn't a bike rider. I had no real skills or anything like that. And there was this jump, and I jumped it, and I crashed.
Yeah.
And Holmes had his camera set up there and had this perfect footage of me crashing. And then, as I was looking back at my stuff, I recorded over the footage. So I actually I've got footage of me falling in love with mountain biking, and I totally stuffed my knee up, like I hurt myself really badly. Came back the next day on crutches. And filmed the A grade guys. Like the next day was the big event with like Ben Whitlock and you know, trying to think of who the guys were, like Sadler and Felix and it was mountain bike couriers, and they're just starting to get. They weren't even proper downhill bikes. They were just a mountain bike. They had knobbly tyres and a thick frame, so that classed it as a mountain bike.
Did downhill bikes even?
That was my introduction to it. You know,
Were you just hooked, like straight away?
Yeah, straight away. Straight away I was hooked. You know, I was hurt. I'm crutching. I'm going back there and trying to film footage. I think Ed Verco was there. I think I got some great footage of Ed Verco crashing, mate. I don't know if that was the first one or that was maybe a little bit later. But yeah, I just happened to have a video camera. Again, I didn't study filming or anything like that. I just liked filming stuff for whatever reason. And
it wasn't like you could YouTube how to video?
No, it took a long time. You just gather up the footage and you just keep adding more tapes to it. And then you'd try and make a little edit or something, like recording onto mum's VHS tape. Like it was very primitive, you know, a red, yellow and a white cable between 2 machines. And press pause and press record and see what you get.
So that's how you're cutting the films together back then?
Yeah, at the start. I think I started like that.
Yeah, right. So you'd have to go... So we had a mini VHS camera, I think, and you'd have to literally just... Even to transfer it to computer, you literally just press play and transferred everything at once. You'd have to go through
this wasn't even to computer.
No.
Yeah, at this stage, it wasn't even going to a computer. You had your TV screen, you had a VHS player, and that was it. It wasn't getting into a computer till quite a few years later. I had a little mixing desk, and I could somehow record that. I had a little, like a screen to play it back on. And then I had a little... I can't remember one of the names. I bought some of the equipment was expensive. Like, my grandma, she actually lent me the money to. It was expensive. Yeah, that was expensive stuff.
What was I guess, like, did you have any creative passion before that, or was it?
Well, I suppose I had the passion, but I had no idea. I don't know. I just did it because I liked it, you know, and just tried to do it, you know, put two machines together and record some video and then put some music over the top of it. I used to, you know, I used to love music.
Okay.
I used to love music. So, and I thought, well, just watching mountain bike footage, just playing back by itself, isn't that exciting? You know, it was pretty raw. You turn a corner and you whatever. You don't look that great, but maybe put a bit of music over the top. It makes you look a little bit better.
Exactly. Yeah.
So music was a big thing. So then you put music over the top of the footage, and you kind of made a little video clip, and maybe that's how
unreal.
You know, that's how I thought of it.
What were you doing with the clips? Because
well,
obviously now we've got Instagram, we've got YouTube, we've got TikTok, like, you know, everything.
Like how, man, it's so easy to do stuff now. It's so easy to make something so simple look so brilliant so fast.
Yeah.
Back then it took a lot of time. Yeah. You'd record, there'd have to be the race first. There's only one race in a year, or three races in. Yeah. So just to have something that was kind of exciting or worth showing again, you know, and no one was good at anything then. You know, in a race scene, you know, made it look racy and people were trying fast and you might crash or something. Crash was probably the best thing you could get, but trying to make someone look fast, it's pretty hard on video, you know, because in the grand scheme of things, Marble Hill wasn't that fast.
Well, that's it. Like we've got some of the fastest and best riders ever to come out of the country, and we've got hills. We've not got mountains. Like we've got these tiny.
That's it. Yeah, there's youngers. I say youngies are, you know, there's Connor and Troy, but there's a next generation well below them now as well. And Adelaide never had big hills, but we had some talented riders for sure.
And you've seen like a lot of them come up. Were you organising videos and stuff with people outside of the racing at a point? So you had Rishbeth, and I've seen a few like of
that. They're a lot later.
Really?
Yeah, because I started like 94, 95. So look, no one even made videos then. There was a Mud Cows video. The first video before I'd made a video. I think I'd started. You know, I think I made the name. And I just started mucking around with stuff in the bedroom at home, you know, just trying to do stuff. And I'd show me and me, you know, that's all the only people that saw it. And then thought, make a video. There were surf videos at the time.
True, yeah.
You know, there was surfing, but no one made mountain bike
Maybe
videos.
some ski and snow stuff
as
well.
There would have been snow. Yeah, Walden Miller did his snow stuff and there was surfing. And then here's this new sport of mountain biking. And, well, I hadn't seen it yet. You know, no one's really seen it yet, and I got a camera, so I'll film it and make a mountain bike video. Yeah. But I didn't, you know, I knew it wasn't that great. But, you know, I thought, well, surely us group might want to see this again. And everyone used to be stoked to see themselves in a video, you know. It would take all year. You might make one in a year. My first video was Hyper, and I released that in 95. I haven't been able to redigitize that. Yeah. But I made that one in 95. I've got a way to replay it, but I haven't been able to spit any of that footage out. And that's the real early days. I've got all my early little tapes. The people have said, look, they might not replay. They're that old. They might just be brittle and crumble as soon as you press play. But hopefully I can open that stuff up, and then I've got all the raw tapes as well. I've got hundreds of hours of footage. Yeah.
It's like you say, you weren't that great, but how were you, not to get too deep, but how are you deciding that if you've got no one to compare yourself to at the time? Like,
well, I really didn't. You know, there was even, you know, Mud Cows didn't inspire me to make a movie. I was planning on probably making a video. I mean, that's the place you can put something is make a video. Like I'd contact the bands. You know, I knew some people in the bands because I used to hang out at the surf clubs and all the rest of it. And then you go, you get a CD, you ask the band, Numbskulls, do you want to put some music on this video? Oh, we had Mark Kane, we had Hilltop Hoods. Like,
unreal.
These are these guys that I just like their music. And I asked them, I said, can I put your music on a video? I'm going to make a mountain bike video. And they pretty much all said, yeah.
And now they're featuring on like huge productions as well.
And they've come a long way since then. You know, everyone's come a long way since then. Yeah. You know? But just I don't know, just the talent and the skills. Like the musicians were just kind of as important as the riders to me.
Yeah.
You know, I made bike videos, so I think it's about bikes. But the music was just as equally important, I think.
Well, it makes or breaks an edit.
Yeah.
Or a video.
And then those bands get to have their song. More people get to hear their song and hear their music. And guys today say, I think of this song and I can picture this bit and all the rest of it. And I can do the same thing. Like it gave an opportunity for bands. Look, I didn't necessarily, it wasn't my favourite music. I wouldn't play it in the cassette player with my Walkman. I wouldn't be playing that in my Walkman all the time. But it was just good to have a variety of bands. Like some might be just heavy and punk, and then some might be more melodic and, instrumental. It was really good to have all that and throw it on a video, and then the musicians get to get a bit of extra airplay too.
Yeah.
You know?
I think having a broad spectrum of music interest is very, very important for anyone making video, because you can miss out on so many tweaks to the video just because you're not exploring that type of stuff.
It can't always be intense, and you can't always put slow motion in there, and you know.
What when did you start getting out of SA and going to trips? Like did you go to Jindabyne with Grant and stuff?
Well, no, I didn't get to Jindabyne, but pretty much when the club formed. So the club formed in 94 as well. I think the club formed, I think it was about like April or May or something like that, like middle of the year. I registered the name in August, but I think they'd organised the club and then a trip to Thredbo, and I think that was 94.
Yep.
So that was my first interstate trip. Like I literally went to this downhill race at Marble Hill, and then within the next 3 or 4 months, I think, they'd had this trip to go interstate and go race a bike interstate. I thought, yeah, cool, I'll go and do that. That sounds like good fun. And so there's a heap of strangers. We got on this bus. And we went to Thredbo. That's where I met Marshy, and I saw Trials for the first time. And Darren Moore was on the bus, Whitlock, Darren O'Grady, stinky Darren O'Grady was eating all this healthy food, and he was rancid. Dave Mott driving the bus and Gary driving the bus. It was a really cool experience. And look, I didn't really know anyone. I didn't know anyone. We met each other on the bus.
And you would know them by the time you got to
early days,
Thredbo.
And such a cool group of guys to do something like that with. 100%. Yeah, cool experience. And then from then we kept going. From then on, you'd go to Fairview Nationals to try and video and just filming South Australian people. No one cared about South Australian people. In the bike scene, that's not where the good riders were. The good riders are in Sydney and Melbourne, and that's where the hub of the sport kind of is and was. And I was thinking, there's some guys in South Australia that are pretty bloody quick, you know.
Yeah.
So you're trying to make a video and include the people from interstate, and then maybe they, might be interested to buy the video as well because maybe they're in it. You know? A lot of it was putting people in a video. Everyone likes to see himself. Back then, it was like the news, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Well, there wasn't anything happening really, was there? There was like A&B might have been around at the time.
They would have had magazines. There was magazine coverage. There was Freewheel.
True.
Adam McLeod and there's mountain bike magazines. There was probably a couple of them.
Yeah.
But on video, television, like on, there wasn't mountain biking. You wouldn't really see it on TV back then.
But that would have been prime time for like Ronning and a few of those other faster guys as well. Like
we come into that generation. I used to live with Marshy, came and ends up we become best mates, and we lived together. So we'd take all the photos of the magazines, and our walls would be plastered with all of that. Scott Sharples and Ronning had just won over in the States. Like Ronning had become like an Australian guy, had become the fastest guy in the world on a mountain bike, he'd beaten Valli Hoel and
exactly.
And it's just like, oh man, this is fucking as if you can just do that.
Yeah.
And then just go and see him at races. Yeah, it was pretty cool. But that generation of Ronning, and then the next guys that coming through after him, Kavariks and Rennie and Sam Hill, and a lot of big names.
Yeah,
it was. I know at the time, it really made a difference to see, how good some of these people can be and how pro they. It felt like they were just the super pro people. Although in the end, they were just normal guys. They were just dudes.
Yeah,
but I don't know, in my eyes and in a lot of people's eyes, their names kind of meant something,
Oh, exactly.
You're on the hill and, watch him do this.
I was lucky enough to work with Sharples for about a year or so, and no one there knew like what he'd done in his career because he just didn't care. Like he never had that ego or never really showed anyone like.
I don't think, man, none of them really seem to. Really, I don't think any of them really.
No,
any
exactly.
of the good guys never really care. Like, maybe mountain biking's that sport where it's like, oh, I rode my mountain bike down the hill and I was faster than you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, that was almost like one of the probably the golden era of downhill though for a lot of Australians.
Because the first event I went to was Thredbo, and that was you pretty much just rode down the fire road.
True.
They cut a little bit of single track through some sections. They crossed some S's into the grassy hill.
Yeah.
But you pretty much rode down the fire track. So there's no big rocks. There's no big features. There was nothing probably bigger than knee high.
True.
I reckon the early tracks that I experienced.
Yeah.
And then as it progressed, the riders wanted to be more challenged. So they looked for more difficult terrain to ride their bikes over. And then you started getting all the next courses that came after that, expanding. And now look at what you got today, 30.
Yeah, it's unreal.
Literally 30 years ago, you could get your bike in a chairlift, get to the top of the hill, and you would ride down the fire road. And that was the best thing you could get to. Yeah. I mean, you could do it here at Adelaide. You could ride to Lofty and you could ride
the fire
into
road,
track. Or you could ride, and that was a big buzz, but that lasted 2 minutes or whatever it might be.
Well, like even now though, you go to Thredbo and riding that fire road to the track is
so
sketchy.
Fast. Like it was just flat out and fast, and everything was high speed, and your bikes had no travel. Most people were on hardtails. Suspension spikes started to come in, and they start making the tracks a bit trickier. Which would just that progression, just that level of progression at that stage. Everyone was pretty even. No one really had a better bike than the next guy. All the bikes were equally as good or bad as each other.
And we're reaching that again now. Like everything's just really damn good.
They had Foes, they had San Andreas. Some of those early brands like San Andreas would be on the hill and it's like, look at that bike. That is just the most magical looking bike.
Ridiculous, like 10 inches of travel, like 12 inches of travel things. And
then there's a Foes. Oh, he's got a Foes. Like there'd literally be 3 of them in the mountain. Like there'd be 100 people there and there'd be 6 just incredible bikes.
And you see them and the size small would be just as tall as it was long. That's a weird looking,
And look, those riders probably could have ridden any bike fast. The advantages or disadvantages of them were in the early stages back then. If you could ride, you could probably ride anything.
True. Yeah. What was it? I guess like you might play this down a little bit, but you were kind of exposing that scene and that sport to a lot of people. Did it feel like that at the time? Like, for example, we would be in high school watching your videos. It was the only way we could watch what's going on in the country. Did you have like a sense of pride, or were you like stoked with what you were doing at the time, or do you ever look back and say, I showed this to the country? I
suppose I really had no idea who was watching it. True. Like if I sold 100 videos, that was a good result. Like, I mean, I think I made nearly 30 different movies. Like I've checked back all the titles. Unreal. Like I've made a lot of movies. Yeah, I did a lot of stuff. But maybe I didn't even sell. Maybe a good seller might have been 1,000 videos around the world. Yeah, at the time, it's 1,000 people, and that felt pretty cool. But in general, for a few hundred videos here, there, some went to Melbourne. I sold 100 here, 100 there. That felt pretty good. But who in the end was watching it, I didn't really know. I knew the immediate group around us, and our mates would see it, and we'd have a laugh, and we're on the video, and that's great. But I had no real idea. Like now, as I'm coming back to it, you see some of the kids in the groms. We watched it, and so now it gives me more of a buzz now. But back then, I didn't really have any idea who was watching it. Yeah.
Well, there's no way to know like who's given.
You can't comment. There's no
view counter.
There's no likes. You can't comment back on Instagram and see how many thumbs up you got. Back then, it's like you put it out there and then it was gone.
But that one videotape could be circulating a whole community, and like you don't know that. Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing, and that's why I sewed them into the cases.
Okay.
Because at the day, the first video I made was intro, and that was in a VHS tape in a hard case, and you sold it to the bike shop, and the bike shop they'd take the video, and then everyone in the shop had, like, before they've sold the tape, like the tape went around everyone in the shop first, and everyone watched it, and they showed it to 10 mates, and the mate had a video recorder, so a couple of them managed to duplicate it.
Yeah.
So people could get the tape and watch it, and it wasn't necessarily new. I felt like it's not brand new. Yeah. So at least if I sewed it shut in a cover, you as the purchaser know that you are getting the brand. If the case was opened, right, it's to be a forgery, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's unreal.
So yeah, that's how if you bought a case and it was sewn shut in the cover, you knew it was real. Yeah.
That's so sick.
Yeah.
How was distribution working then? Were you literally just giving it to shops yourself?
Yeah, I'd just go around to the bike shops. So I literally just go door to door. And look, over the years, the community was small. So you knew the people in the bike shops and the mountain biking. You'd met them at the races. You'd met them at the events. Mm-hmm. You knew kind of. And so you'd go into the shop and say, look, I made a video. Would you take a couple of copies, or would you try and sell it? And they might take 2 copies or 5 copies. Or, you know, it wasn't selling big numbers or anything like that.
Yeah.
So literally, just go door to door and selling them. Interstate, you know, again, traveling to the interstate events, you'd meet a few people interstate. So you had a couple, but otherwise I'd get the yellow pages back in the day, the white page, and you'd look up bike shops and you'd just call them up. Yeah. And so would you take a video?
Yeah.
You know, that grew over time. And then we ended up getting a distributor in Melbourne, Platypus. So over the years,
it did get.
But again, and they might take them, but I don't know. I felt like I was pretty small to give another commission, another cut to someone like you, mate.
Yeah, true.
There's no money in it.
Nah.
Yeah, there was no money in it. And to give it to someone else and to think you'll sell an extra 30 copies or versus making a few extra phone calls and trying to sell it yourself.
True. Yeah.
But yeah, look, it got to a point that Platypus, they did a good job by me. They're good guys.
When did you start getting stuff shown on SBS and like TV and stuff like that? Because you had a bit up on there, didn't you?
Well, the people would get in touch with me, different TV stations or whatever. I don't know where they'd come from because I had mountain bike footage and no one else had mountain bike footage and they could find me. Like we had Ripley's, believe it or not, get in touch to buy some footage. And I'd have, you know, a crash or just a real extreme, something really brutal kind of thing. And I had footage of it. And then people wanted to try and license and buy that. Oh, I just want that 10 seconds of that security guard getting smashed in the head by the skate truck. It's like, it's horrible. You know, I just want the footage of the guy crashing. It's like, well, I don't know. But yeah, they'd get in touch and different, you know, maybe not so much with the local stuff with the TV stations, but Chili Factor came along the line. Yeah. And that was, I don't know, around 2000. And that was Darren Harvey. Yep. So that was the first time mountain biking could really get on TV. That was a big boost. Like outside of video, he started Chili Factor, and that was, you know, extreme sports like mountain bike and BMX could get put on TV. You know, surfing was probably on there. They had a little bit. But I reckon he had a lot to do with exposing the sport to television more than what I did.
But was it still kind of cool to, I guess back then, to get something on TV? Even now, like I had a thing with Grant get on SBS. I'm like, that's pretty sick.
Yeah.
Like,
it was always a good buzz. Yeah. We later down the track, we ended up distributing the broadcast of our video. So not the sale of physical videos, but they would broadcast Bad Habits or Lust or something like that. And so there was this organisation called Resort Sport Network. And they were through Europe, and they'd have all the ski resorts and all the rest of it. And so they would buy the leasing of the video and they'd play it in their in-ground, in-house movies. Yeah. So one of their channels would be Extreme Sports. Yeah, right. And so that went to 20, 30 countries.
That's unreal.
Yeah. So they would play the videos. And so that went to so many countries around. At one time they had this list. I had a list of all the countries that the videos played in. I thought that was a pretty proud moment.
That's unreal.
But I've lost the list. But I had a mate, he was actually flying back from from overseas somewhere. It was on Singapore Airlines, and he was watching himself in a Singapore Airlines. It was a trials video or something like that, and that happened to be, somehow where their reach of that broadcast went to. Yeah, it was on an aeroplane, and he was sitting on it, and he was, some young kid, like just some mountain bike rider. He'd feel like a rock star after that.
Dude, that
was good buzz. Things like that was that was a good proud moments.
It's because you're quite humble coming across, like as we're talking now, but even now to have something like that happen is pretty monumental for a lot of people. Like, you got to be proud of what you've done and now what you're restarting up, right?
Yeah, well, what I've done. That's kind of in the past. True. I suppose I can't live off that anymore. Yeah. But I'm looking forward to doing it again. I kind of recognise that I love doing it. Mm-hmm. You grow up, you have a family, you raise your kids, you try and pay the bills, do all the rest of it, and you kind of put your passions aside, maybe. And now my kids are an age where maybe I can go and revisit, those passions again. Yeah. Is the dog being too annoying?
No, she's all right. What's it like? Have you been to any races like recently and started filming again, or?
I've got to stop myself. Yeah, no, okay. Because I love taking the photos. I've just got a new camera, and I've been to some of the state downhills. I've popped there. A few of them, a few mates might be going there, so you'll pop down and have a look. I mean, I've thought about racing. Yeah, I raced last year at Wollonga about a year ago. Yep. On the e-bike. That's all right. E-bike. I remember that. My e-bike. But to go back to the races, then taking photos was good because that's pretty quick to take photos. Yeah. But as soon as I start taking video, to then try and edit and make a clip and do this. Yeah. I went and caught up with the boys at the Beer and Barbecue Fest just recently, and I just got the new camera. I said, I'll come and take some photo and video. And just the time it's spent to try and learn and get the photos and to try and edit again, it's real time consuming. And once I start, I'd want to make a good clip. So it's better not to start something like that at the minute. Yeah, I'm kind of maxing out my time elsewhere.
Just get to bring the mic up a little bit again, sorry. But it's unreal. Like, so you've started 30 years ago and you're the only filmer there, and now you go to a downhill race here and you got 6 or 7 kids with video cameras and phones and everything else, and seeing what they're coming up with. Are you watching what these guys are doing now? And
look, the stuff comes on the Instagram feed and the race stuff comes up, and look, I'm sorry, but to be honest, you see it all looks the same to me. I don't even watch my own stuff. Like, to be honest, like I found myself trapped a couple of years ago watching stuff on the internet. I was a passenger and I was just watching. And I wasn't doing anything useful or productive with my time except watching someone else do something. Yeah. So then I said, look, stop watching and start doing.
Yeah, fair
so
enough.
Now I don't tend to watch too much that. No. But in saying that, even the latest movie, I mean, I watch the events, I watch the Crankworks, I like watching the races and all. When they have good coverage, I love watching that live stuff or the replay if it's the next day or whatever. But watching someone do a local edit of them riding down the local hill, no matter how good you are, it's hard to make riding look good when you compare it to the productions of Red Bull and what the real impressive people are doing. It's poles apart from making mountain biking look interesting. Like I tried to make mountain biking look interesting because no one had seen it, but now you've seen it, it's kind of been done to death. How do you make it look any better than just creating a more dramatic landscape?
100%. It's hard to diversify and become different now, for sure. Like, everything's been done so much. Like, it is hard to show Fox Long the millionth time. Like, how do I go on?
Everyone's seen it. Everyone's done it. You got to go, probably put the footage here, you put it footage there, you carry a drone camera, whatever. Yeah. Just to make something like that. I mean, but in saying that, making Fox Long look good versus watching a World Cup event, they got huge budgets and they still can't make it look that good sometimes. They got drones and they got this and that, and it kind of is what it is. I don't know, the heart in mountain biking is for you, the rider, doing the riding. Yeah. And I don't know, you can't really put that into video.
Put it in,
It's hard to put into video. Maybe it was easier back then because I don't know, there was less of it to compare it to.
Yeah, 100%.
But nowadays, it's it's in your head. It's in your eyes.
Yeah,
the fun and the I don't know. Even recently, watching the footage of the Red Bull in Tassie. Mm-hmm. I can understand the scale of the features, but I just didn't think they did a great job of demonstrating the scale. Park a bus under it or give us some real perspective for something that's just so incredible.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. And it just makes it look like, we're just doing it. Like we're just, next year we'll have to backflip it. It's like the biggest jump in the world. And next year someone's going to have to backflip it. It's like, where does it stop?
Jai Motherwell wants to backflip that 90-footer next year. And there's plenty of people telling him not to, which is fair. But someone's going to do something.
But that's in the kids' heads nowadays. If that's what you want to do and if that's where you're at, then you've got to do it and you've got to be prepared to pay the price, and some people are, ultimately. And if that's where your heart and your passion is, you just got to do it. If you think that's what you want to do and you can't sleep at night until you do it, you got to do it.
Yeah. That's the attitude that reminds me a lot of Grant and Grant Allen. Like you filmed a lot with him and you filmed a lot with Marshy and stuff. Did a lot of their go-get-em attitude and stuff rub off on you as well when you were filming and doing stuff with those guys?
Yeah, a lot. We just had a really good group.
True.
Yeah, we just had, and again, probably all pretty similar attitudes. Mm-hmm. Is she been annoying or do you want to
she's
try?
all right. I'll take it out.
Yeah. But we I mean, Marsh and I were great mates. He had his trials influence and his trials skills. The Moggs were two brothers that just used to like push each other, just find a new limit. And Grant just liked to push himself just quietly by himself, and he could have done it. He could have done it all by himself.
True.
He didn't need. He was a bit different. Yeah. I like to film it, and I like being in the group, and I think we all like being in the group. And because we had that group, we could push each other.
Yeah.
Just in such a fun way, there was never any competition. Like no one was better than anyone for doing anything. It's like Marshy had his trial skill, so we'd muck around. We had a trial set up in my backyard, so we would just do trials in the backyard. So everyone improved their balance skills and bike handling skills in a slow fashion. And then we just fed off each other. We'd just go and do something, and we'd just ride and have fun. Like I say, I filmed a lot of stuff. But so much stuff we didn't film, and it was hard to put myself to the spotlight. Just stop. Like, this is fucking awesome. Just film it.
Yeah.
And it was a hard position to be in because you just want to be fun in the moment.
Yeah.
But then you'd also like to record it because it'll be gone forever.
And you've recently decided to kind of start visiting these stories again with the podcast. Like, what was your thoughts behind starting that? I mean, what's it called first, and then?
Well, at the moment, I've called it Volatile Revisioned.
Yep.
But I don't know if that's a permanent name. It was just I just made a decision a couple of years ago to do something for the 30th anniversary. I didn't know what that was going to be. It's taken about 2 years to get to this point. Like I probably consciously made this decision 2 years ago, and it's taken 2 years to get to what's come to fall together in the last couple of weeks. But first I just redigitized the old movies. That took a long period of time to get them up, to find someone that could even remaster the tapes because it was so old and all the rest of it. And then I just said, look, I just want to post a video clip every night for 30 days. Like I just have something. This was a year and a half ago. So just post a clip up every night for 30 days and just see what you do from there. So I did that, and then I just kept doing it. And like for the next year, I think there was a lot of shit going on in that time. We sold our house. There was a lot of big things happening in my life. I said, no, I'm going to just post a video clip every night. Just try and be consistent. So just try, and I maybe only missed, I don't know, a couple of days, 3 or 4 nights in a year of posting the video clip. I've slowed down a bit now because this podcast thing's taken over, but that's only formed in the last, 6 months. To do that. But I thought, I know all these people. We can just sit down and talk and tell all these stories for our our time, I suppose. And look, if 30 people listen or 50 people listen, if it's our community and our little audience and they get to hear a bit more about fucking Dean or Steve or Grant or, whatever, I think there's enough of us that would be interested. And I've loved talking to the guys. And so, I've decided to turn into a podcast and I'd like to keep doing it. I know so many people like bands, music. It's not just riders.
Yeah.
I know 30 years is a long time to meet people, and form a relationship and see how people grow and progress. Like Nathan Morris when his little kid Trigger, like Trigger's little kid and he owns Bicycle Express. Like there's
Trigger's got a kid
there's
now.
so many cool stories within this community, and maybe I can be a part of sharing that.
I think it's important for like kind of showing where the sport came from to some of the young ones because, Marshy might rock up to an elite race or Grant's out there doing dumb stuff in his bowhead and people see him doing that now, but they don't understand what they've done before. And like, no one knows that some of the young ones don't know Grant was in Rampage. Like,
oh, yeah. I mean, even years ago, like I've been in and out of the mountain bike scene, like when the kids were younger. Sorry about the dog being a pain there. Sorry, what was I saying? When we'd go back to the races and like Marshy's there, so and you'd know, and then now you've gone out to a race as an older guy. I've gone back out and done a few events, and no one knows anyone. And the big group of riders is that 16-ish year old, and they just think they're the bee's knees. Yeah, and to them they've got an Instagram page and all the rest of it. So you. But they don't know who Marshy is, but at the same time, Marshy probably doesn't really care. Yeah.
Still, one of my favourite memories of Marshy though is like he was at a national enduro series, and it was his turn to go, and he was warming up at the back of the line.
I'm just going to give her a quick shut up. Sorry.
At the back of the line, and he's ridden up past all these juniors. Endos does like a 180 nose pivot in front of all of them. Best nose wheelie I've ever seen in my life. Lands perfectly at the gate, sits on his seat, doesn't touch the ground with his feet or anything, sits there, and everyone's just like mouth open. They're like, "Oh, your turn, 5 seconds," and he just stood up like on his pedal, he never touched the ground, and all these kids are just like, "What just happened?" Like,
yeah, look, and again, and that's what hopefully I can maybe be a part of sharing some of this, because Marshy was just so incredible in his way, and but there's so many other guys like for riding, for what they went on to do, in helping the sport, in building a bike shop, in doing whatever they go on their different paths. All these years later, and we all met through riding bikes, and you just get to see all these fucking incredible people, Well,
even like Darryl, who's now the national brand manager for
Molyneux. Yeah. Well, he used to build tracks here at there's a downhill track in Horse Knolls.
Yeah.
We can probably say all this stuff now. You weren't supposed to build and dig anywhere, but a couple of the cool, crazy tracks, there's good story and good history behind the people that built some of these cool tracks that kids don't even know about, and they're probably too scared to ride them, without riding their flash bike with their matching gloves and helmet and all the rest of that. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that.
Do you think it's lost some of the fun in some of the industry, or?
Look, I can't comment. I'm not a part of it. I'm not out there in amongst that anymore. I'm sure it's just as much fun for all of them, and for them to compete against each other at that age. It's only making them faster and better. Where that 100%. Leads to, whatever. Yeah. But if it keeps them off their devices, go and try and challenge your mate to see how fast he can go down the hill.
No brakes, see how fast you can go. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I think often, they maybe look a bit flashier than what their skills are. Yeah. But the good ones will still shine through.
100%. Yeah. There's a young lad from up north near me, and he's on a 2007 demo, like 26-inch thing, like wears whatever, and he's absolutely ripping.
That's where you learn. You learn on the bay. You learn on a basic hardtail.
Oh, no, it's a Julie.
Oh, he's got a Julie at least.
Yeah, but it's, I think it almost weighs as much as him.
Yeah.
But like...
Well, there's advantages to that too.
Yeah. And he's out there and he's having fun and he's riding better than a lot of kids. And it's just like, it doesn't really matter as much about the gear. Like these kids with the passion always kind of trump it, I think.
That was see, you know, back in the day, I say back in the day like an old man, but back in like the early Wollonga races, you know, most of us rode on hardtails. Like there might have been, you know, Whitlock might have had a Diamondback dual suspension, maybe in the years gone past. Yeah. You know, Felix on a Turner. Like there's a couple of guys that had some good dualies. There's a couple of good GTs out there. But everyone just had to ride what they had. It wasn't, even at the high spec end, it wasn't that great. You just had to have the balls to ride over that terrain. And even then, the rocks and the everything was nowhere near as gnarly as what it is today. But I reckon it's probably just as hard to ride fast back then with that equipment and that gear.
I rode an old ATX a few years ago, like a 2001-ish, like ATX. I was blown away with how hard everything was just to ride that on that thing. And it was like flow trails, and I'm like, this is the scariest bike I've ever ridden in my life. And then you look at what Warner or like
what they had,
what all those guys are riding, and it was the same bike, and they're flying. Yeah, it's unreal.
Yeah. Well, I always just had a hardtail. I could never afford a dual suspension bike. I spent all my money on cameras and wasted my money in that direction. So I could only have a hardtail. But you know, you got, I don't know how much travel you got in your legs. You got more than 8 inches in my legs, so that's enough. Yeah.
What I guess, like, what is the future for the podcast and for your videos and stuff like that? Do you have much planned for what's going on with that?
No, I really don't have no real plan. Like the plan was to launch something on the 31st. Like the goal was to do something on that date. And even again, that date really doesn't mean anything to anyone. It's irrelevant to everyone. But it was a date that I had, and I figured I'll use that as a starting point. Yeah, you know, a returning point, however you want to look at it. Where it goes from here, I don't know. I just want to keep. I've got a big list of people I've already contacted to speak to. Yeah. So the plan is to just start going through the list. Yeah. And start talking to people. Yeah. It'd be nice to think I could do one a week, but I think that's a big push. You know, one a fortnight, or you know, it might just be somewhere in that time frame. I've spent a lot of time doing these. I've done the first 5. I've interviewed Marshy, Grant, Dean, Rowan, and Dwayne. Yep. That was to help me practice and learn and put it out there. Look, I think what I've done's turned out pretty good, with all things 100%. Considered. But look, I've learned a lot. Where it goes to from here, I'll probably just keep doing it that way. Yeah. I've spent a fair bit of time putting video footage over the top of these guys' clips, these first 5, because I've got all the footage. In my mind, I was going to look, I'm the right man for the job here. You know, if you want some old footage, I've got it. But it's really time consuming, and so I've just got to be careful about how much time I put into that, because this is just a part time. This is just a side hustle for me, fun. You know. But look, I know so many people that have got some cool stories about the history of mountain biking and BMX, and you know who did the first flip, and how did the club start, and who were those. You know, get all those if people are interested, and I'm sure there's enough people that are. 100%. You know, what are the facts behind, you know, how this all kind of got rolling. And I've got a bit of video footage to back it up too. How's
learning all the new tech and editing software and everything else to go with it? How's that been?
Learning the tech and everything is okay. I've got right into AI. I've been looking right into AI stuff for the last year. So I'm a big AI advocate, and I've been to some workshops and people have shown me, what to use and what to do. You know, being shown what to do is one thing, then going applying it is another. And just the time it takes. But the biggest struggle for me has just been the file size of everything. Like my computer just shuts down. Like I'm just buying external hard drives, and it's not been a cheap exercise to try and do this. But you know, I've bought these cameras that have all this 4K high quality. So, and I, like I say, I got no idea what that means, but I do know that it means my computer's full. And I just need to work on understanding that a bit better.
Yep. 100%. Yeah, trust me, you can never have enough hard drives.
Yeah, so I just keep doing that, and I'll get better at the filing and
File management,
resourcing and all that management sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. It is really cool to see, and it's been really fun to watch your old footage and seeing you get back into it. And yeah, it's been really, really, really good. I've been
look,
it.
it's been so like you have a bad day. Like I've been doing this for maybe a year and a half now, and that's probably an hour or two a night. I'm spending on this. I say my family's got a bit older. I don't need to be doing so much for the kids, so I got a bit of my time back. And if I've had a shitty day or whatever it is, I'm down. Just look forward to each day. I'm just going to watch this old video, and it puts me in a good mood. I listen to the music, I see the footage, whatever it is. I probably spend too much time just watching more of the clip than posting it up.
Yeah.
But it's been really cool to see the responses, and some of them actually the coolest features is some of the people that aren't here anymore. Like there's kids in the videos, there's boys, men, whatever they are. They're friends that are in these, and they're not here anymore. And sometimes I post a video and I think, oh, this is going to be the best video. This is Kavarik with the heavy music, and everyone's going to love this. He's just the fucking man. And it doesn't get my used to. There's not much of a response. But then there's, I just filmed some bike shops. People like to see the bike shops or Troy's jumps, and everyone just froths on. Yeah, man, it's so good because he was just a legend in the sport, and you just happen to have a bit of footage of him riding his trails. Luke Weddell. So there's rest in peace, all the guys that aren't here with us anymore. But it's been cool to see even just some of the family gets to see their loved one again. It's like, fucking there he is. There's his face. Yeah,
that's unreal.
Yeah,
might start wrapping things up a bit here. I kind of end with 3 questions for everyone.
Yeah.
First one is like, what advice would you have to anyone who wants to get into like filming or wants to take on a new skill or, become a media legend like yourself?
Well, I don't know about a media legend, but I think it applies to whatever you want to do. If you really want to do it, you've just got to be all in, do it because you love it. If that's what you want to do, just do it, but you just got to be all in. You can't be half-assed about it. You can't, maybe, you're doing a drop. You can't, think maybe I'm going to make. No, you've got to be committed. So just follow your passion. If you've figured out what your passion is, you've just got to go for it. But sometimes you got to make that fit within the realities of life.
True. Yeah. Unfortunately.
But you shouldn't compromise. If you really want to do something, you should go for it.
100%.
Map it out.
Yeah.
Take the time it takes and try and do it.
Is there anything you would have done differently or anything you regret doing or?
Look, I don't think I have any regrets. And look, there's plenty of things you do differently, but then that wouldn't make you the person that you are today. So look, I look back at everything is just part of the learning process, and you learn a lesson from whatever you do, whether it works or whether it doesn't. Some of the hardest lessons come from, the failures, but then that makes you into the person you are today.
Exactly. Yeah. One of my new favorite sayings is fail fast. So make sure you get all your failures done and you learn quicker. And
I tell my kids, I build pools now. I've got my lad helping me. So make all the mistakes you want,
Yeah.
Just don't hurt, don't do any serious injury. Yeah. Just make mistakes, and that's the best way to learn,
100%. Yeah. Last one seems to be the hardest for a lot of people, but if you're lacking the motivation to say, get up and do an edit or record a podcast or, go build a pool, is there anything you do to get motivated? Like, do you listen to any music, or is there any ritual? Or
Well, can I say that I'll go and smoke a bit of pot? You probably can't say that, can you?
It's all good.
Yeah, that helps me.
Yeah.
But music is music's a big motivator.
Yeah.
Might smoke a bit of pot every now and then. That helps the creative juices flowing. But music's good. And in the last year, just listening to podcasts, like if I've been in, lacking the motivation, down in the dumps, whatever, personal, business, whatever reason, I've gone and found a podcast, find someone that's maybe motivation, listen to someone else that's done it and been there before. All the resources are out there. You've got a phone. You can listen to someone that's motivational and inspirational for you, And if you go and search them out, sometimes that just gets you going. Maybe you just need that in the morning. Yeah. Just get a little bit of a kickstart, listen to David Goggins, get your ass into gear, Goggins, and then, move on to something more appropriate.
100%.
Yeah.
Perfect. Love that answer. That's the best one yet.
Yeah, cool.
Well, yeah, thanks so much for coming on. As I said, it's been amazing to finally sit down and talk to you, especially after watching all your videos in high school and seeing you document everything. So
yeah, cool. No, it's great to catch up, and sounds like you're maybe moving in a different direction. So it'll be interesting to see where that goes.
Yeah. I'm going into video and you're going into podcasting. So it's different.
Tag team.
Yeah. I appreciate it, mate. Thank you so much.
Good one. Thank you.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.